let's buy some depreciable assets or long-lived assets. So let's first buy a machine. And the machine cost $15,000. And this machine that cost $15,000, let's say we paid $3,000 down, and we financed the rest. So it's kind of like buying a car, isn't it? We go in, we buy a car, we give them $3,000, we drive the car home, and we make loan payments for a long time. So how would we record that buying of an asset? Well, you're going to debit, let's call it machine. That's nice and generic. $15,000. We're going to credit, what'd you give them? Cash of $3,000. And then we're also going to credit probably note payable, because they usually make us sign some long-term financing agreement. I just can't whip out my credit card, can I? So note payable for the remainder, which is $12,000. And that's how you would record the purchase of a long-lived asset. Debit the asset, credit the cash, and credit whatever financing you give them. But what gets interesting is when you buy a long-lived asset, not one, but many of them all together. So, for example, let's buy a building, some land, and a parking lot. And let's say we paid $1.5 million for it. So that's the cost. But what happens is this. We really have to split up that cost between the building, the land, and the parking lot, don't we? Because remember, land we don't depreciate, and a parking lot lives a shorter life than a building. So what we do is this. We take the building, we take the land, and we take the parking lot, and we get an appraisal. And then we, based on this appraisal, divide up the $1.5 million of cost between them. So on our appraisal, we go out and we get an appraisal that says this is really worth $2 million in total. Now, of that amount, the parking lot is worth $50,000. The land is worth, let's say, $950,000. So we're right up to $1 million now, right? And the building is worth $1 million. So what we're going to do with this $1.5 million cost is the building is going to get $1 million over $2 million, or half of this amount, which is $750,000. So when we debit land, when we debit building, building will be debited for $750,000. The land is going to get $950,000 over $2 million of this 1.5, and the parking lot is going to get $50,000 over $2 million of this 1.5. So let's see how my calculator is working today. 950,000 divided by 2 million equals 0.475 times 1,500,000, which means that the land is going to get $712,500. So land is going to be debited for $712,500, and the debit to parking lot is going to get the rest. So given my math skills, let's just take 1.5 million and subtract 712,500 and subtract 750,000, and we find that the parking lot is going to be allocated 37,500 of the purchase price. And then I will credit, let's say we paid cash of 1.5 million. So notice that we use the appraised values to allocate the purchase price so that we can depreciate our lump sum purchase appropriately.